And welcome back to Sports Weekly on IEMG. I'm your host, Pep Fernandez. Now, we know already that Matt Maida is one of the best athletic directors anywhere at San Gorgonio High School. Now the rest of the state knows as well. Matt Maida named the Athletic Director of the Year in the state of California, and this has been a long time coming. The former San G alum, he's an alum. He went to San G. He was the valedictorian. He came back to San G, a teacher and coach, and now AD for nearly 2 decades, and doing such a great job. You just saw the Arrowhead Athletic Conference track and field finals in a previous segment here on Sports Weekly. So the guy has done such a great job, heavily involved in all the sports. The coaches love him. The student athletes love him. Here is Matt Maida in an exclusive interview talking about what it was like to win this award surrounded by family and friends. And again, we're going to talk about this as well, coming off a pretty difficult time for athletic directors as we went into COVID and now coming out of COVID. It was a hard way to negotiate high school sports with all those protocols and whatnot. So this means extra special for Matt Maida to win this award. Check it out. And now join us here on the show. He is the one and only Matt Maida, and now we can say he is the California Athletic Director of the Year. Matt, first off, congratulations. What did you think whenever you got the first word that you were winning this huge honor? What was your reaction?
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of cool. I found out at a Citrus Belt Area Athletic Directors Board meeting. Ron Main, our vice president to CSAD, state organization, announced it at the board meeting and told me in front of my peers. And honestly, I was just totally stoked. It is something that I wanted, to be honest with you. It was very important to me to be recognized by my peers. And so, yeah, but extremely humbling. Holy cow.
So, Matt, I'm not trying to date you here, but how many years have you been the athletic director at San Gorgonio High School?
This is year 19. Been at San G 31 years. And I actually graduated from San G back in the mid '80s. So I've been at San G through all the last 4 decades now.
All right, Matt. So I was digging through your bio, your resume, and you just mentioned you're a San G guy. Were you really the valedictorian at San G?
Yeah, I was.
So
but the speech Saturday was way more stressful than this back in 1985. So there you go. I dated myself.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Your speech, I had a chance to listen to it on social media, and obviously when you're successful at something, it's because you surround yourself with good people, a supportive family as well. What was your motivation? What was your your direction in terms of writing the speech and thanking those when you got this big award?
Well, yeah, 100% is you got to thank the people that helped get you there. And I referenced a speech I gave back in 2007 at a baccalaureate for our school, and the topic was "No Man is an Island." And I 100% believe it. Now, I believed it back then as a young AD, but having lived the last 15 years since then, I've lived it, and we can't do it by ourselves. And you hear all the sayings, team, it takes a village, family, and all 3 of those definitely pertain to my life. And there's not a single success that I've had as a coach, AD, dad, you name it, that wasn't because of other people. So.
Matt, a lot of coaches will transition into administration and become athletic directors, but how do you think your experience being a coach turned athletic director, having gone through those, practices and games and doing all those sorts of things, does it help you relate better to your coaches at San G, having gone through a lot of those, same experiences that they're going through right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question that I get asked by a lot of aspiring athletic administrators when they're taking their master's classes and things like a good coach is a good teacher, and a good teacher is a good coach. It carries over to being an athletic director too, in my mind. If you were a good coach, then you have a better chance of being a good AD. Been through it, but the reality is, so a little bit of history there too, Pep, is that in 2003 is when I became the AD, but from 93 to 97, I was our ASB advisor. And while I was doing the ASB stuff, I saw what the AD did. And I actually made up my mind at that time that that'd be really cool. Come the AD, and there was a guy before me, John Powell, who was going to take over, but the current AD at that time was Larry Arnold. But in '96, John Powell took over. But I knew he would be retiring. So in '03, he did. And so from basically '97 to '03, I continued to build my resume and be involved in stuff. And I umpired for the CIF High School Baseball Association. I ran tournaments. I got on committees at the CIF level, the coaches level. I did a lot of things like that to get to there. And so it does make it easier. I was a department chair and I did budgeting, and I learned how to deal with the administration. And I had my peers under me there too. And there's just a lot of things. And like I referenced in my speech too, that I thought I was going to be an engineer. I had a degree in physics, not athletics, not kinesiology or PE. But I just did things that prepared me to be an AD. And as a kid growing up, I did that kind of stuff. I didn't put all my speech. Probably shouldn't talk to them here right now either. But, even as a kid growing up, I was the one that was organizing the ping pong tournaments in the garage. I was the one that was doing the tape ball tournaments. And we did all kinds of things like that. I mean, even my NFL weekend betting pools, and stuff like that. I was doing in high school. It just seemed I just always did that. I coached when I was in high school. I coached at a local little league when I was in high school.
So whether you knew it or not, you were kind of already going down that path.
100%. I didn't know his plan for me, but God got me straight. About a year or two after I graduated from college, he said, "You're going to be an educator," and he sent me back to CNG.
Did you ever, think that, hey, I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna be back at San Gorgonio and still be at San Gorgonio after all these years?
Yeah, so that's funny because I actually started subbing. I started subbing in a '91, and so I was all over the district, right? And I was just making extra money because I was working at Sears Outlet on the docks. I was supervisor and stuff like that. And but I did some subbing to make some extra cash. Well, I did really well at Pacific. Like I got in really good with their principal. And, but and when I was subbing, I went down to the district office and one of the ladies at the district office said, "Matt, with your background, you really should be a teacher." Yeah, okay, whatever. And so, but like 6 months after doing it, I was like, what, maybe I could. And I landed in the sub job for a week long at Pacific High School for a math teacher, Mr. Bergeron. He was gone for a family funeral for a week, and I taught Algebra 1 for the entire week. And I thought, I could teach math and I could coach. And maybe it was backwards. Maybe I could coach and I could make money teaching math, And so, my degree's in physics, so I got my credential in math, so I could be more marketable. And so Pacific was great. I'm like, I can do this. So ironically, the day that I got offered my job, my principal, Phil Haley at CNG, I went back, talked to him. Matt, we don't have any openings. Matt, we don't have any openings. Okay, all right. So it's 2 days before school starting, and one of the old coaches from CNG comes down, finds me at Sears Outlet, says, "Hey, Haley wants to offer you a job." So I called him up, and he offered me the job, and it's like, "Oh, that's fantastic." I get home that afternoon, and on the message machine, right, because we didn't have cell phones back then. So on the message machine was a message from Dr. Davitt from Pacific offering me a job as well, and it was just meant to be. CNG offered it to me 2 hours ahead of time, and I ended up at CNG, and so there's a lot of things I guess were out of my control.
Well, Matt, let me ask you this, and this is obviously no slight to all of the past award winners for the California, Athletic Director of the Year, but to win this award now, having gone through COVID and coming out of COVID, and again by your peers, I don't know. To me, it feels like it carries just a little bit more weight because it was just so hard for athletic directors to navigate 2020 and 2021. What's just kind of your thoughts on winning it, but winning it right now as we're hopefully on the tail end of this pandemic or maybe even out of it?
Okay, Pep. So seriously, I think I won the award because of COVID. I was the Citrus Belt area president for 2 years, the 90 large schools in the Inland Empire. And during COVID, I was the president and I had to run all the meetings and I had to help work with CIF and do all that kind of stuff. And I basically was nominated by our area for the work that I did as president and coming out of COVID with the umpire officials, football officials, a shortage. So I think the reality is I might not have won if it hadn't been for COVID. Let's be real.
Yeah, that was obviously a very challenging time, especially for athletic directors juggling all of the different teams and who can play and who couldn't play, and if you could, what are the protocols and what does that look like? But let me ask you this now: does it feel? I've been to quite a few football and basketball, now some baseball and softball games here and there. It feels more normal to me. Does it feel more normal to you coming from an AD's perspective?
Well, they haven't really changed the rules on us in the last couple of days. So, yeah, it feels a little more normal. During COVID, it seemed like every week there was a new update, something changed. And I was talking with Ray Moore, a retired AD from Vista Marietta this weekend at the conference. And he just says, Matt, how'd you guys do it? And I says, Ray, and it was crazy. We literally had to do 3 schedules that year for COVID. We had the schedule for before COVID, and you plan a year ahead. And then in July, Wygod from the CIF office comes out with the new calendar, right? So then we get a new schedule for the new calendar that was supposed to start in December. And then we get word, I think it was in either December or late November, early December. Yep, we're not doing this calendar either. We got to push it back. It spiked right at Christmas time. And so we've got to push it back again. So literally that year, we had to make 3 different sets of schedules. And it was just crazy, absolutely crazy.
Well, Matt, let's finish it up like this. So, you're back at San G, your alma mater. You win this big award. Do you feel like you have your dream job, being at San Gorgonio and being an athletic director?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the dream job. It's definitely the job I'm supposed to have. I always told my kids when I taught in the classroom that you've got to be really good at what you do, and you have to love what you do. And I do love athletics, and I do believe in athletics. Most definitely these kids in the high school setting can learn as much on the field, on the court, in the pool as they do in the classroom. I taught AP Calculus. I taught physics. I had some of the best and smartest kids, smarter than me, in my classes. But I believe that what we can teach them in athletics is just as valuable in them being successful in their future. And so, yeah, it is a dream job, to be real. It's hard, but we always say to everybody, if it's not hard, and it's not worth it, right? Yeah. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. So it is a difficult job. The AD's jobs are very stressful, but it can be very rewarding. And Rich Shear said it best when he was put in our Hall of Fame a couple years ago for the Sabata. He's now at the CIF office, but we might have one of the most impactful jobs on campus if we do it right. And so that's really kind of awesome if you think about it, the power that you can have in helping these kids, be successful for their future. It's a great feeling. So yeah, maybe it is a dream job and I just haven't woken up yet and realized it.
Well, Matt, congratulations, the California Athletic Director of the Year. I really appreciate your time. Continued success out there at San G. And hopefully next time I see you will actually be, on the football sideline, or who knows, maybe a playoff game for baseball or softball if they can sneak in there. So congratulations, Matt. Really, really appreciate your time.
Heck yeah. Thank you too, Pep. And you're always welcome on our sidelines because for some reason we always play better when you're there. So all you opponents better watch out when Pep's on our sidelines because we're going to bring it.
I'll take it. I'll take that. That is Matt Maida from San Gorgonio High School here on the show. So congratulations to Matt Maida, one of our dear friends here at IEMG. He's been so good to us on Sports Weekly over the years. Congratulations to Matt. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Sports Weekly on IEMG. My name is Pep Fernandez. Make sure you subscribe to the IE Media Group YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. And we will see you next time on Sports Weekly on IEMG.